everybody. Thank you so much for always tuning in every Motivation Monday here on Island City, where the beach meets the streets, on your Hollywood radio personal development show on the Coach V Show. We are so blessed to have the hugely talented and so humble Siaosi coming on and featuring on the Coach V Show, where he shares with us his story, his success, and his significance, and the life lessons, behavioral models, and the success frameworks that he has to share with us. Another shout out to Siaosi for coming on, to him and his wife and his entire family, for his parents for really pushing him to stay in music and to do some things that is that the most of us in Ontario, we really didn't invest in music like that, but they really planted a seed that has led to a really wildly successful and influential life that is Siaosi. So thank you again, Siaosi, for coming on the show. Wishing you nothing but love, health, wellness, and prosperity today into the future. And thank you to everyone else that's tuning into the Coach V Show. Now, a word from our sponsor.
Say, for things to change, say, I must change. Say, if I don't change, say, nothing changes. Say, if I do change, say, everything changes. Who's ready to get better?
We're trying to look for in all you guys is a champion. The three main things that we try to go by is character, choices, and champions.
What it is that you, me, and we do for ourselves brings progress. What we do for others brings fulfillment. And what we do in both earns success.
You are now tuned in to the Coach V Show.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development, with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. And today, I am super excited to have one of the Polynesian greats in terms of artists, music making, this Love Jones, great vibes music, that if you haven't heard from him, you are now going to be a fan. I promise you. In this, you look up his music and what he's doing. I am a big fan myself. His name is Siaosi, and Siaosi is born in Oahu, Hawaii is where he was born, and he grew up with influences both in R&B such as Babyface, Jodeci, and New Edition, as well as heavy reggae influences with the likes of Gregory Isaac, Beres Hammond, and none other than the king of lovers rock, Maxi Priest himself. Beginning his career as the original lead singer for the Hawaii Reggae band, Inoa'ole, Siaosi's music has evolved into a sensual and soulful blend of lovers rock reggae mixed with Polynesian inspired harmonies, sweetened with poetic and uplifting lyrical content. He debuted his first solo album, Blue Room, in 2010, featuring popular singles like I'm Leavin and Feluteni. He then went on to release his sophomore album titled Everything Is Good, which debuted at number 9 on the Reggae Billboard Charts and included hits Everything Is Good, All I Need, If You Were Mine. Since then, Siaosi has released a series of hit singles such as Reggae Party, Coach V favorite, Caroline. Oh yeah, it doesn't sound as good as Siaosi, but it's my jam though, right? I Wanna Love You, and It's Not Easy. Siaosi is inspired by his parents, Siaosi and Lose, Taulani, and his Polynesian people that keep him motivated to continue to create music and positive energy. Island City family, here where the beach meets the streets, and here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron, together we rise. We have Polynesian music artists and big time artists, period. Siaosi on the show. Siaosi, welcome to the show, brother.
Yes, thank you for having me, Coach V. I really appreciate it, man.
Man, you're so kind and you're so generous. And let's start off with a quick story about, I reached out to you to come on the show. Like, what was your initial reaction? Share with us, because I was like, what? this dude is the man, and he was like surprised that I would reach out to him. Chelsea, talk about that first.
Well, honestly, I was surprised. You know, I don't really look at myself as anybody that's you know, completely successful. And it was really humbling, you know, to be able to be asked to just share my story. And usually I'm just used to sharing my story through music.
Yeah.
To help, you know, anybody in any situation through music. So through an interview like this, it's on a whole nother you know, playing field. And I'm like, you really want me to talk?
Yeah, no, thank you, man. That's humbling that you would think that, and it's really gratifying to see a Polynesian brother. I mean, you've had a top 10, you know, reggae Billboard song, and you're on the cusp and on the verge of even more. And Lord knows if we're alive, I think that's a success to start with. And I think that's a great point, right, Siaosi? That even though in our struggles, in our endeavors to achieve and succeed, that man, if we are alive, man, we got a shot. Come on, Siaosi, right? Is that true or
Right.
not true? What are your thoughts on that before we start unpacking your story?
It's so funny that you say that, man. You know, for years I just battled self-doubt, you
Mm,
know, and you know, growing up in of course a Tongan home, a Polynesian home, you know, you're always taught to be humble,
mm,
and you know, and I guess at times, you know, it would kind of, you know, it would take over at the wrong times, you
uh,
know, where like, man, you know, like I want to do it, but I feel like I shouldn't because it's not humbling. It's not showing, it's not coming correct to whatever the situation may be. So, um, I think, man, you know, now that I'm a little bit older, and you know,
mm,
there's ways to get around it by doing it without, without not looking or seem like you're humble. You know,
mm.
there's way to get around that. So, I just shoot your shot, man. You know, if it's something that you love and it's your passion, you got to go through it at 100%. You know.
No, I love that, Chelsea. Chelsea, let's start with your genesis point. Remind the audience that already knows you, and then also for those of us that don't know you, what is your story? What's your genesis point, Chelsea?
Man, so I was born in Hawaii, raised partially in Hawaii and partially in California.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I was young, man, Coach V, and that's why I said, man, when I first saw you, I was like, hey, I know this guy. I said, wait a minute, I know this guy, but the last time I saw you when I was a kid before we moved back to Hawaii, you had long hair. So I was like, wait, he used to have long hair. I remember this guy growing up as a kid. And honestly, man, all those times of my lives were so influential, you
mm,
know, to the artists that, you know, made me today, you know, coming from humble beginnings, from, you know, my, you know, from basically nothing, you know, being
mm,
a first generation Tongan in America. Um, we really didn't have anyone guiding us, you know, so the
mm,
youth, you know, we kind of had to figure things out. And, you know, I remember in those days, man, like, you know, taking the yate truck to school was kind of like, oh man, you're like, man, Dad, can you drop me off? And I'm gonna drop you off in the front.
uh, uh,
So,
right?
you know, I grew up in Hawaii and partially in California and Ontario, and we moved back to Hawaii. I always had a sense for music. I always loved um, music from when I was young, a small age. Church was a big influence, you know, on me, and
Mm,
I just loved everything about, just listening to the choirs at church. And you know, I would always sit there and I would always remember the hymns and, you know, the harmonies and things like that. And really, my father was the person that really pushed me into music. And at a young age, growing up here in Ontario, I remember I would, you know, of course, I wanted to play sports and do all this and that. But my dad, the agreement with him was everything would have to be, you know, okay, if you're gonna play football, you have to take something musical. So when I got to the age where I was old enough, I remember being put into piano lessons
mm,
and drum lessons, and my dad was just so all about music, and education, of course. And then that's where everything began, was right here in California. And then I remember a story that my parents told me. So I really had a hard time reading the music, but the teacher would, she would give me the music, but it would, of course, she would just, kind of watch over me, just kind of glance in the window. And one day she gave me this piece, and it was a Christmas song for our recital. And for me to memorize it, I would have to sing along with what I was playing. So instead of reading the notes, I just memorized how the song went, and I would play, and I would know when to change the chords without looking at the music. Bad, but also it was easy for me to memorize it that way. So she hears me singing, and I remember my parents walking in after to come pick me up from my rehearsal, and she sat my parents on the side, and they always tell me the story today. She said, "Man," she told us, "there's something about this kid, and you have to keep him going in music. Don't ever stop him." He just, I hear his voice, and it's much more bigger than just playing the piano. But there's something about this kid, you guys just have to keep him going. So I never understood until later when my mom and dad told me this story. And I said, no wonder you guys push me so damn hard to like, oh, go play this, go do that. You know what I mean? And they always were, and it wasn't bad for me. I loved it. I love the fact that they allowed me to do it, because it's kind of abnormal for, a island kid. It's all about go to school, get good grades, you know what I mean? And, go to college, get an education. And, for my parents, it was, go to school, but go to school and do music. Music should be your thing. And I grew up from there, went to Hawaii from California, and was blessed by the likes of like Kapena, and Fiji, Ulisse, Ka'au Credo Boys, all these Hawaiian and Polynesian artists. And I was like, wow, like I was very taken back by, man, this is like me on the radio, and from then on, I just always took a liking to just, I always had a liking for reggae music, because reggae was always in Ontario when I was growing up. I just always remember the OGs jamming, Lucky Dubé, UB40, Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley, at all the functions. And dude, when I went to Hawaii, I was like, man, we're in heaven. I'm in heaven. They're playing my music, but it's our people singing it.
Yeah. And Siaosi, tell us about that upbringing, starting music, starting to sing. Like, what geographic regions? You mentioned Ontario, but let's throw a shout out and talk about, the areas specifically that you grew up in back in Southern California and Hawaii. What are those two areas, and where were you going to school?
Man, well, I grew up in Ontario, Halafa to be exact.
Yeah, baby. Shout out Halafa.
Shout out Halafa. And then we had relocated back to Hawaii in Kapahulu, man. Shout out to all my folks in Kapahulu, man.
Shout out Kapahulu, yeah.
Two of the biggest, most influences in my life musically, man. Our people listen to a lot of different types of music, man.
Yeah.
From country to R&B, pop, like whatever it was, rock and roll. So a lot of those things kind of molded me to the things that I like now. And I really just fell into falling in love with R&B and lovers rock. And that's why I love lovers rock music so much. It's like the best of both worlds,
Yeah, and that's so funny too, because both our crew back in Ontario and then in Pomona, there were some big old dudes, right? And then, but they look kind of like, it's kind of sketch, but then they'll turn around and be bumping like Jodeci, like you're saying, right? Or Boys to Men was huge back in the day,
man.
right? or like All for One,
Right.
right?
Right.
Right? Those were the boy band times. So then, but then you really got that in the reggae as well. And then you started mentioning some of like these artists like Capena, and then and you started mention Fiji, right? One thing
Right.
that I've always found specific about Hawaii, and I probably think that you would share the same sentiment, especially back in the day, is that in Hawaii you could just turn on the radio and you hear us.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go in Hawaii, people look like us, like what we eat in terms of taro or manioke or like rice. That's just a normal in Hawaii,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about that and how as a kid you started to transition in your thinking that way, Siaosi.
Well, man, when I was see the thing is that my uncle was also a musician when we were living here in Ontario, and he actually would always come back from these gigs, these little gigs that him and his band out there would play. He'd like talk about going to San Francisco and there. And I remember as a kid, this is right before we moved out there. He said, "Hey, there's a band out there. They're the baddest band. They're called Capena.
Yeah.
Lion Guy and Two Tongan Brothers." He always told me that, and then he'll play songs for me. I said, "Man, these are some really nice songs." And moved out there and finally got a taste of it. They basically led the way for us,
Right.
Capena
Real talk.
yeah, man, Capena were the ones that broke into the industry, playing our style of reggae music, and and it made it even more more appealing to me because two of the guys in the band were Tongan. So being able to see people, and hear them on the radio, and then Fiji hitting us with a brand new, his first album, I was like, man, who is this guy? Who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? He's like, he sounds like Luther Vandross.
Man,
you know what I mean?
No doubt. Yeah.
But he's one of us. You know what I mean? It really like influenced me to just try it out. My dad used to always just try it out. Just try it out. I think you're made for this. You're made for this, whatever it may be. Just basically soak up all the knowledge, and he would just tell me, just go and do it, man. I believe in you. And that's where I'm here today. I've been in the industry for quite some time now, and I've been blessed with being able to bless others with all of this stuff that I learned, from coming up in the industry, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And the one thing that really got me when I was in Hawaii is like instantly you turn on the radio. I think back then was like 3+ was out, right? Like some of these jams with the ook, you know what I mean, that you don't hear in regular radio stations out here that grabbed me right away. And so tell us, how did you learn it? Did you just start going? Did you go to university and study music? What was your path, Siaosi?
Man, honestly, I really just picked it up. And the first song I ever learned, I think it was like Surf on the ukulele. And I remember my first day of school, Washington Intermediate, when I moved from California, 8th grade. I would see like kids just jamming like in the hallways.
Right.
And from there, I just I remember asking my friend, like, "Hey man, can you teach me how to play?" And he basically taught me. I never really got a like a college education in music. I basically learned from people at church, from playing in the brass band at church. I learned how to read notes from there. I would just watch people and ask them questions. I'm not like the best at playing guitar, but I kind of just would watch how they would position their hands. Like I knew the basics, and in high school, I had the opportunity to be able to take a class where we would travel around and just, and we would welcome like tourists from the airports, and we would, do all that. But all of my training, really just comes from experiencing
by doing it.
by doing it. Yeah. By doing it. And I mean, I always wish that I was able to get an education on it. And you know, unfortunately my path didn't lead that way, and I didn't take that path. I just kind of wanted to jump right into it, and that's what I did.
No, I love that. And then so my wife bought me an oud probably a decade ago, right?
Nice.
And what I love about oud is like these 3 chords, you can play about 3 to 5 songs, right? So I know 3 to 5 songs on that oud.
Yeah.
And the oud is so so much easier for the fingers.
Yeah.
And then versus the guitar, there's a lot of pressing, but man, I love that. I love that you learn by doing. And then when was like your first gig that you were going, oh, this is my jam now. This is my lane. Was there, or was it just the culmination and you doing these airport and going to these gigs, joining a band for the first time? Or was there one instance besides the fact that you sat down and played the piano with your teacher and your teacher told your parents, was there anything else that you're like, man, I got to level up on this. This is my deal. Was there a time like that for you, Siaosi?
You know, honestly, I just had so much fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really thought of it as, okay, I'm going to choose this as my career. You know what I mean? I just really loved to perform.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just, you know, honestly, I joined the band in high school. I had my own band in high school. You know, I remember recording like one little CD when I was in high school. We recorded a couple songs, joining competitions, but it never really sunk in that, man, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I just knew that I loved, you know, music, and I loved how it made people feel while doing it. And I think for me, it wasn't necessarily like, okay, this is my goal, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna be a Grammy winner. No, I never did that.
Right.
To be honest, it all came from the feeling of watching people enjoy themselves, you know. And I think that was the tipping point for me. You know, like, man, everybody's like, you see how everybody's so hype and they're having fun. That was enough for me, you know. That was enough for me. And years later now, man, you know, there's nothing that can beat a live performance and people just enjoying, you know, your art, you know, and appreciating what you do.
Yep. So then you get recognized with what I think it was Everything Good, right? That debuted at number 9.
Yes.
So then now you're getting the reaction from the crowd, or what I call in business is the marketplace reacts to your service or product. But then you're also recognized as a top 10. Your song came out as a top 10 debut. What did that feel like, right?
And I honestly just did not expect any of that. And it was my second album. My first album that came out did okay.
Right.
But I was traveling around the world at that time with Fiji and J Boog and Langa Sapea and Kivini Vaitai, and we had our little crew and our thing that was going when I released that album. You know, even with that, you know, I just never expected anything. You know, I was just doing it because I loved to make music, and I still love to do it. You know, and when I did my second album, I really didn't expect anything. I just knew that people were looking forward to having me release more music. And once I did, man, I was really taken back. You know, I was really taken back and humbled by, you know, the reaction that we got from that album. So, geez, man, I've just been blessed, man. That's it. That's the best way that I can put it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I do coach, teach, and train that you can become more effective and efficient in relentlessly pursuing your goals. But when you become what you want, then you attract your goals to now relentlessly pursue and chase you. Did you experience anything like that?
Man, you know, I think through the process of everything that I've gotten to this point, you know, in my life now, I never really sat and thought about things until I started getting a little older,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and like, because, you're innocently just having fun. And I had so much fun. And what made it easier to have fun was because I was traveling around with my friends,
Yeah.
my brothers, and my sister. So it just made it that much more easier, not really to like, okay, be serious about things,
Yeah.
And I honestly, now that I've gotten older and I look back, there's a lot of things and moments in my life that I feel could have happened, and it always comes down to that could have, would have, should have. It should have happened. Oh man, I missed out on this opportunity. But at the end of the day, I think everything just happens the way it's supposed to be, and you're at the place that you're at because that's where you're supposed to be. There's reasoning why I'm here. Now doing what I'm doing. I could have easily taken that route, and who knows? Maybe could have been like a bigger, pop star or something. But
yeah.
For the love of the people and the love of the music that I grew up on, I'm just trying to just stay true to myself.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's kind of like what I've collected. What is my figuring out my passion. And my passion is reggae music, man. There's nothing that ever makes me feel any better than reggae and R&B music, man.
That's right. No, that's real. And in that, because when we do mature, I think it's a difference when we cross over, when we get married and have kids, and now people are dependent on us, where shit gets real, Siaosi. Right. Where now there is, and there has to be a level of seriousness in the business where only things that you're going to only invest your time in the stuff that will be worth your time, because it's going to be taking away from being either with the people you love, your wife, your kids, and missing out on moments that are important that you don't want to neglect. Talk about that level of maturity, because now you've been in an industry since you started back when you were in Ontario, where, man, I love music. And then then it gets, there's a professional point to it where you're going, man, this is real. Not only do I love it, but I need to make sure that I can pay bills. I can offer a certain level of life and standards, and there's a certain expectation that I need to meet financially, because I think that's when things get real and people diverge from their passion and do what they got to do instead of their passion, so that they can pay the bills. Is that not real talk, Siaosi, or not? Is that real?
That's 100% real talk. I don't think a lot of people, they just see the glitz and the glam.
Yeah, right.
They see all the videos, they see all the music being put out, but they don't actually look at like the cost of things. They don't look at how much do they really make off of these songs? How much? What percentages are they taking home? And these are things that I had to learn along the way. And luckily, man, I have a really loving, supporting wife, and she's she's in an industry that it sort of goes hand in hand with what I do. She's helped me a lot to realize and open my eyes to learning how to be selfish a little bit sometimes, learning how to take time for myself. I think that's a lot of things that people, especially our people, we kind of because we're so busy trying to be humble, and sometimes, like I said, it kind of becomes a roadblock, and I had to take a little bite of that humble pie as well, to understand that, man, you're being a little too humble,
That's
take some
right.
time, take some time.
Because you get taken for granted. You get taken for granted. Come on, dog. I mean, that's what business comes down to, is a value transaction. Go ahead, Siaosi, please.
No, yeah, and I've learned, it's I always, like I said, you always think back on the past, and you always telling yourself, man, I should have done this. Like I said, you should have done that. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn, man. And that's what I've definitely done. I've lived, I've learned. There's so much things that I'm still learning today. And that's why, just being really humbled by the fact that you asked me. I was like, man, do I have a success story to share with this guy? My wife does this. She goes, man, I guess I don't understand, sometimes looking on from an outside person's perspective, how they see me or view me. And like I said, like learning now all these things, learning how the business works, and still learning how the business works. There's so much that goes into being an artist, especially a reggae artist. The industry that we are in is such a small industry, and it's you can only imagine like how hard it is already to get into, being a world renowned or a world pop star, or this and that. Like, imagine how small our industry is. It's like it's scaled down, a lot more than that. And still, because I love music that much, and I love the music, I love the genre, and I love the way that it makes people feel. That's just my passion, and that's what I choose to do, and how I choose to spread my message, across to whoever is willing to listen.
Oh man, that's real talk. And I love how you say that, because how you choose to, right? Because all of us can get to a certain level, Siaosi. Let me know if this is about the same in your industry and what you've experienced, where you could shoot from the hip and just do it and just grind, right? And you could get to a certain level of success, but the scale and get to your next level of success takes process, it takes planning, it takes strategy, it takes a freaking design in your time, a budget, right? Where this is the amount we're investing in, this is the amount that we're expecting back, because that's where the people that are in it for the long term and have the greatest impact in terms of serving and playing their passion, but their bank account also reflects that they're a success. So there are different types of successes, which I think that you're an absolute success. And those of us that see you from afar, we're like, man, right? We love your music, we love how you vibe, but then from internally, these are the messages and the frameworks and the behavioral models and the life lessons that I want to bring the audience. Like, yeah, man, I started to have to choose and make sure I know that I design my time, that this is the business model, right? Because that's how you scale. You can shoot from the hip all you want, but at some point, shooting from the hip becomes ineffective. Siaosi, come on, is that real talk?
Yeah, that's real talk. That's 100%. And and that's what I did for so long. I shot from the hip. And honestly, I'm just very lucky and blessed that I was able to carry on for so long that way.
Me too. That's right.
Yeah. And then now, that's why I said, meeting my wife, and she's totally opposite. She's like planned,
structured, right?
Yes, exactly, right? So she shows me all this stuff, and I'm like, and it's hard for me. I'm such a creative mind. My mind just runs, man. And having to restrain myself a lot of times and focus. I always my wife. We always talk about it. Like, man, you have like ADD sometimes, because she'll be talking to me and I just go into this blank, but it's just because sometimes when I'm talking to people and they say things, it just takes me, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, that I could use that. And I just start thinking of all kinds of things. But planning and strategizing, you can only get so far in just shooting from the hip. And then there's a few that actually have done it and succeeded. But even through succeeding and having that, you still now is when you see like, oh man, I really have to plan. I really have to strategize. So no matter what, when you actually do, if you ever do make it to that level just by shooting, from the hip, there's gonna come a point in time where you're gonna have to realize, structure. I have to do this. It has to. I have to plan. And that's what I've been. That's what I've been really digging into the past year through the pandemic, was learning that. Learning how to get out of my ways, you know, sometimes, you know, getting out of some things that, you know, these habits that I was so used to, because they were just not, it's not good for me if I want to move to the next level.
That's right.
And, you know, I have a lot of goals. I have a lot of things that I want to do, you know, that goes hand in hand with my music. But to be able to do that, you know, that's what I have to do. I have to plan, strategize, and, you know, and you know, strategically put together, you know, something that will take me there and keep me running. So,
man, that's some real talk, right? Because, you know, even as a speaker, my rates vary. And especially when I first started and I didn't even know what my rate should be. Real talk. Come on, Siaosi. Come on, Siaosi, right? Am I talking to somebody? And then people, because I didn't know me, knew my level of standards and expectations, what I should charge, then they'll say, well, you know, if you could do it for this price, all these people are here, and they might hire you too. Then I figured out in business, future opportunity does not pay the bills and possibility. Like, because I would judge things off of what I think and feel. And because I've done it and it's worked out in the past, that I could replicate that. But then I figured out, nah, this is my value. This is what I charge. And if you don't agree, I get that. You know, God bless you. Thanks for the consideration. But then is when I did that and I had a hard look to myself that my thinking and feeling doesn't always translate into business and financial success. Only performance and having a standard and a process did. Because then if I have a standard, a process, expectations, I have a goal, right? I didn't even have a goal when I first started speaking 11 years ago. It was just like, man, if I get booked, I'm blessed. But that doesn't translate into being able to replicate a process and then to have the marketing, right? Come on, Siaosi, is that real talk or not? Go ahead, finish off on that.
No, that is. And I think that's also something that I'm getting used to, is actually writing down my goals, man. My wife be getting mad at me because I'm like, I want to do this. She's like, write it down. And I'm like, okay. She goes, yeah, write it down, you know. And we've been going through, like, just seminars and just watching, you know, successful people and them telling their stories and understanding, like, man, you know, it really helps.
That's right.
Write down your goals, put it to paper and read it every day. Like, I am going to be a household name in 2021 or 2022, whatever, you know, whatever. I'm going to make my first million in 2022, you know, and then break it down and take steps to get there, you know.
Yes, sir, exactly.
I'm a firm believer, man, because there's things that I've already reached by just writing stuff down. And one of them was completing this. You can see behind here was my last EP, my last album that I released.
Right.
And another goal was to, you know, really dig into production on my own and having people do and play, you know, how I hear things, you know, and trusting myself.
Right.
And it's work, man. It's work. You know, I slack here and there sometimes still, but, you know, it's still trying to kick old habits. And, you know, I don't think I will ever stop learning, and I don't mind that. You know,
I agree.
I don't mind that. I don't feel like it would be normal for me to know everything, you know?
Right.
So, you know, for me, it's like, you know, learning and just moving along with the music industry, with the industry, you know, and the music industry moves so fast anyways. You know, there's new things that happen every month, every year, things change. So I do too. I have to learn. I have to adapt. And that's one thing that I've been trying to do, you know, and so far it's been working for me.
Good. That's awesome. That's awesome on your level up. In that, since we already are mentioning your wife so many times, I often talk about and make sure that my clients really understand and come to the realization of how important, in terms of speaking to others that have not been married yet or are younger, like my high school crowds and my college crowds, that, you know, be careful with being casual in your sexual and romantic relationships, because you can get stuck in a jam for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And then also because I also I directly teach, coach, and train that your spouse and who you choose as your lifelong partner is bigger than your school major of study or what you want to do, that's your passion, or even, you know, what school you want to go to or what field that you want to go to. I mean, I think that's how important an amazing spouse is. Not just a spouse that you're married to. I mean, an amazing spouse to go to a certain level. It takes a real partnership. Touch on that, Siaosi. Touch on that and your thoughts on that.
Man, that's 100% true. And I totally agree with everything that you say there, man. You know, don't waste time. Don't waste time, you know, on giving yourself to, you know, on just anybody. You know, I've lived and I've learned, you know, my lessons throughout my life and all of my relationships. And not all of them were bad, not all of them were good. But, you know, finding this person that I'm married to now has probably been the biggest blessing of my life. Going through a lot of things, you know, that I didn't understand at that time, mentally, you know, and health-wise, you know, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And meeting this person that was able to relate to, where I was, you know, I was able to honestly not lie. Or not have to lie, or not feel like I had to lie to this person.
Say that again. Say that again.
I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, that's such a big part of being in a healthy relationship. Is just not having to lie to your partner.
That's right. Just being
if
real.
You feel
right?
that you have to lie to somebody, to not be yourself, then maybe that person's not the person for you. Or maybe you might have to look within yourself to change things about you that, you know, that might not, you know, that, you know, you might need to, you know, look at, you know, to change. But I think for me and my wife, what gives us that healthy space is being able to talk to each other, you know, and me, like I said, having to learn these things. Like, man, this is so weird because I'm not used to this. I'm not used to, you know, but I just, you know, I tried something. I say, you know what? How about let's just be honest from the beginning and not have to lie to, you know, not have to lie to feel. And, you know, because you're always going to feel that burden, you know, on your back if you have to do that. You know, I think that's probably the biggest key to any, you know, successful relationship is just be honest with each other, man. Be honest, you know, find somebody that you're, you know, that's worth your time. Find somebody where you can be supportive too, and they can be 100% supportive to you. Somebody that will just not lie to you and tell you the truth. Like, if you suck, you suck. You know?
Yeah.
That's plain and simple. You know, being 100%, I think all around, I think that's the best key to success, to a successful relationship, man.
Do I feel a song title coming on? Thank you that I don't have to lie. Is that a new Siaosi song? Thank you, I don't have to lie.
I don't have to lie.
Right? I mean, because we've heard it so many times. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for allowing me to be real. Right? Yeah. But here's a different just say on it. Right? Thank you that I don't have to lie. Damn, what a freaking, right? That's awesome. Siaosi, tell the audience, what is a Siaosi message to the world? If you had a message or something that you would like to just say, hey world, this is what I think, and I think we would be better from it. What do you think about that, Siaosi? What's your message to the world?
I think just take time to learn more about one another. I think our problem today is that we're just so taken by social media, and we're so wanting to have opinions, and before actually learning about each other. You know, I think you know, there's just been so much scarring that's happened throughout the years of life.
Real talk.
Yeah, you know, and I think that we as people, you know, we tend to be a little selfish at times, and we tend to always want to be right. You know, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. I think if we just took the time to learn about one another, to actually learn about each other's cultures, to understand, or maybe that's not how they do things. You know, understand. Okay, why do they do it like this? Maybe you can dig a little bit more deeper and understand why, instead of just, oh, that's wrong, that's not good. You know, for me, you know, I'm a believer in the Lord, in God, in Christ, but not everybody is. But I'm not going to you know, not, you know, unfriend people because they don't believe in the same beliefs that I do. But as long as they actually have beliefs of being a good person, I think that's all that really matters. You know, I think that's all that really matters. I think that's just one thing that the world, you know, needs today, especially going through everything that's going on right now. So many people just trying to be right all the time, you know, trying to be right. And, you know, just taking some time to get to know each other, taking some time to really understand each other's cultures. I think that's one big thing that we're missing in the world today. Yeah. And that's just, you know, I think that's just more of what we need, more love in the world.
That is a great message from Siaosi right there. Learn one another. Let's be more, let's empathize more, right?
Yes.
Siaosi?
Yeah.
And let's just, it just is what it is, but it doesn't mean that we need to transfuse anger into it and then go, well, screw it then. Here's the line, draw the line. You stay there and I stay here. Man, this is the United States of America, man. This is how we roll, right? This is how we roll, and then around the world. That's a fabulous message. Siaosi, what is the project? What song does Coach V need to go on iTunes and download next, right? What is that? And tell me about the projects and tell the world about, hey, this is what I got going on. Check it out and promote what it is that the concerts that you got going on. Please share with us that, Siaosi.
Well, I got a new song that I just released. It's Juggler's Rhythm by my brother from Drumwise, brother Calvin Kana from Hawaii. He released one of the first jugglers, and if people don't understand what that is, it's basically a rhythm, a beat that a bunch of artists jump on. So it's the same song, but they write their own song to it. I was fortunate. Yeah, man, I was fortunate to be asked to be a part of it. The album's out now on iTunes and all digital platforms. You can stream it. It's called Lightas is my song. And then the rhythm
Say
is
that
called,
again. Say your song. Spell it.
Lightas.
Okay.
Yeah.
AZ.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Go ahead.
So there's the rhythm is called Reflection Rhythm by Drumwise and Wash House Music Group. And man, there's some heavy hitters on there like Jamiri Morgan and Pizza Morgan and a bunch of Hawaii artists like Napoleon and Through the Roots. Mr. Shant is on there as well. So check it out, man. And I have a lot of dates right now, looking to tour the US real soon, putting dates together with my sister Tanel and Reno, my brother Reno, and Ran. So we're looking right now to lock in some dates. And you know, you can just stay locked in with me. Check out my website, siaosimusic.com, for any booking, any show dates. Everything is on there. All of my music is on there. All the links, you can go ahead and purchase my stuff, man. And I got this 555 album that I released during the pandemic. Check that out as well.
555 album, got it. Yeah, so for everybody out there again, and that's one of the ways that I just plug into Siaosi. I'm connected with him on IG, so I see what he does. But then anytime I want to find something, like when I first heard Caroline, when he was bumping it on his IG when he released it in the spring, I went right on to siaosimusic.com It's really easy, and then you could just plug into all the things it is that he's doing, and it also has all of the dates on there where he's going to be, that you could buy tickets and or just I think it's like reserve a seat or something like that on there, and then you can come back and then buy it later. So thanks for promoting that. We look forward to downloading all that music. And then what about shout outs, Siaosi? Let's shout out the fans, shout out who you want. Who can we shout out here on the Coach V Show on Island City where the beach meets the street, Siaosi?
Man, I just want to shout out, to my manager, Anu, and my brother, Big Body Cisco. A lot of these guys have just been there for me from day one. Shout out to all of the fans that continue to support me and my music. My family, my friends, especially my wife. Just thank you guys for believing in everything that I do, and just stay tuned for more music to come. I got a lot of stuff coming up this summer or this winter in the ending of, so stay tuned, man. I got some stuff coming out in the ending of summer, man.
Yeah, man. Siaosi, I haven't ever seen you come through Sacramento. Do you ever do that? And Anu, here's a shout out to Anu. Anu, can we get my boy plugged in here in Sacramento so Coach V can just travel down the freeway 5 minutes? You got anything coming in Sacramento soon?
We are working on that right now. Like I said, me and Tanel are working on some dates. We're looking to do a tour together. And Sacramento is one of the places.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so just stay locked in. As soon as you're gonna see it all over my IG, Siaosi Music. Okay. So, or you can just check out my website and keep locked on to that, and definitely it will be posted up once all the dates get released.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and everybody go check out Siaosi both on his Instagram, and then also at Siaosi SIASOSI Music MUSIC.com, and then also catch up with him on social media as well. Follow and then you're going to get some good music, good vibes. I mean, everything that this guy talks about is an influence. He has that at the very heart of his music, and you can feel the rhythms and the vibes just coming through the speakers and your headphones. I promise you. And then in that, you have come to the part of the show, Siaosi, on the Coach V hot seat. I'm going to say a couple of quotes here and there as time allows, right? And if we go over to the producer Q and Island City, please forgive us because we're just going to have a good tongue and jam session right here. I'm going to just say on the hot seat, I'm going to say a phrase. Siaosi, you just tell me what it is that your thoughts. Bob Marley says, one good thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain. Siaosi, what's your thoughts on that?
Man, that's 100%. Music, honestly, to me, makes the world go round. And without music, there's no life. With any good or bad time, there's one thing that will get you through it, and that's a good old song, especially a reggae song, to be exact, man.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. And then what about this saying? Here's a Coach V saying: life is struggle, struggle is life. Misery is optional. Siaosi, on the Coach V hot seat, what are your thoughts?
You take life the way it comes, man. And whatever comes with it. With the struggles, there will be highs, there will be lows. But at the end of the day, you just gotta fight through it to reach your goals.
That's right. I love that. And then what about this? Just building on that, life is struggle, right? For you people that are single, life is struggle, no doubt. But wait till you get married. We got some struggle waiting for you on this side. What's your thoughts on that, Siaosi? Stop laughing. Stop laughing.
Have no struggles. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
We got some struggle waiting for you on this side of marriage right here for all you single folks. What's your thoughts on that? I mean, really, that's one of the most challenging things, right? Siaosi, being married because of being selfish and the things you've talked about. What else?
Oh man, it's tough, but with any relationship, it is hard. But if you want to keep a relationship that's 100%, awesome, you have to go through those struggles to learn. You have to go through those misunderstandings to understand. There might be things within yourself that, that you might be going through that you don't understand that you're doing wrong, and the same thing with your partner. But those are the reasons why you're together, the reasons why opposites attract. You learn from one another. and you grow as a person through that.
Man, we're gonna put a doctor relationship, Dr. Siaosi right here. Got just dropping some knowledge for the married folks out there. Talk to him, Siaosi. That's real talk.
Yeah,
Here's the next thought. Man, you can shoot from the hip and hit a certain level of success. But until you freaking sit down and put down your strategy, come up with a process and have the outcomes designed as a goal for the target that you're shooting at, you can still be successful, but you're missing out on maximizing the opportunity. Your thoughts on that, Siaosi?
Man, that's 100%. Like I said, man, they always say, like, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And it is. But you have to learn how to get out of your own way, man. Sometimes it's you that's blocking. And if it's learning that key thing right there, which is, planning and strategizing, I know a lot of guys that just learn how to shoot from the hip. And like I said, it's not 100%, success rate.
Right.
So, if you want to be a successful anything, take the time to do it right,
Right.
And that's to me, now that I'm learning these new things, and I've experienced that exact thing by strategizing and planning. It just helps you. It helps you to organize a lot better and take you to the next level. Because I'm not just like randomly making things up now in my head. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Real talk. Yeah, that's a good notion. So I say this all the time. Of my thinkers, my feelers, and my doers, the entrepreneurs that I coach that are the most successful in terms of actual achievement of a goal and money, straight up profit, right, are the doers. It's not the thinkers and the feelers. What are your thoughts on that, Siaosi?
Yeah. And I said this earlier, man, that I stood in my own way by not just, doing it, and being a little, like I said, it's okay to be a little selfish. And, sometimes you just have to be, you will end up helping somebody at the end of your journey. And I think that's what was holding me back a lot, was I felt selfish to other people. But how can I give something to other people when I have nothing to give? So I got to be a little selfish, get to where I got to be. Then I help bring everybody else up.
Ooh, I love that. Pouring from a cup that you actually are filling daily, right? I love that concept. And then lastly, the highest level of executives and the highest thought leaders and successful people that I coach, they become even better because now they reach back or they find opportunities either for a transaction or just because they feel like they need it. Those are the ones that really get and scale to the top of their levels of success by now helping others with the wisdom and the knowledge they have that their mentee or they people they mentor, they don't have that knowledge. What's your thoughts on that, Siaosi?
That is one of the things that I have written down, is that, throughout my process, if I'm able to help someone get, achieve, certain things in the music industry, I'm always open for them. I think it just would be selfish of me to hold everything that I've learned, because for me, especially for our people, we're still kind of brand new to these lands. And for us to be able to create our own table, we have to learn from the ones that exist. So I'm the guinea pig. Let me make you. If I don't become the most successful person, maybe somebody else, that is younger than me will be. You know what I mean? So it would only be selfish of me not to be able to share anything that I've learned throughout my life of music.
And one last question, as you talked about that, what is Siaosi? What does Siaosi want to be Siaosi's legacy?
I just want people just to remember me, for just helping people through good and bad times, man. I just want them to remember my music as something that was there for them you know, when they felt there was nothing else there. You know, if I was able in any time of my career, you know, if I was able to ever help anybody through a bad time, then that's enough success for me right there.
Thank you, Siaosi, and thank you so much for coming on the Coach V Show, and thank you to everybody to tuning in. I mean, via Zoom, I'm here in the 916 in Elk Grove, just outside of Sacramento. My man Siaosi. Siaosi, are you in SoCal right now?
Yeah, I'm out here in LA now, man.
Yep. And with Siaosi out in LA, until we can get in studio, thank you so much for everybody for tuning in here on Island City, where the beach meets the streets, here on the Coach V Show, your Hollywood radio show for personal development. And I just want to remind you, as Siaosi has, that we're not here listening to this show just for the sake of achieving success, but for the sake of being our best. Because in doing so, we realize the best of our abilities, and that everything and anything that we dream and work for can be achieved. This is how this success coach and Polynesian recording artist, this is how we live, all about faith and family, grateful for God's amazing grace. So shout out to Siaosi and all he's doing. We wish him nothing but all the success and profits and cheddar and growth that one man's bank account and your family can hold, but also prosperity and building the lasting legacy it is to you, Siaosi. From your boy Siaosi and your boy Billy Amitafok Tautapel Lavatuiva, here on the Coach V Show on Island City, where the beach meets the streets. Until next Mana Motivation Monday, one love, God bless to everybody. Peace.
Aloha.